Hello everyone and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we're taking a look at Studio Series number 36, Deluxe Class Autobot Drift. Now this guy comes with three tiny little Dinobot figures, Tops, Pterry, and Sharp. So, actually I think this is Sharp T. Interesting. Anyway, Sharp T, I guess like Sharp Tooth, but maybe they couldn't call him Sharp Tooth because of Land... Remember Land Before Time? Does anyone remember Land Before Time? Sharp Tooth, I think, was the big T-Rex from Land Before Time. Anyway, so this guy is a deluxe class figure that comes with these three Dinobot little figurines. This was an Entertainment Earth exclusive, and I honestly forgot that I ordered it a long time ago, and it showed up in the mail, and I was like, hooray, this looks neat. So it is from Transformers The Last Night, which was when Marky Mark, whatever his character's name was, had a bunch of these little guys cruising around his junkyard. I don't really understand the idea of baby Dinobots. Like, were they born somehow from the regular sized Dinobots? I don't really understand. I don't really want it explained to me. I don't know. They're cute. Anyway, so I thought they'd be fun. Not too much going on the bottom of the packaging or the top. On the side, you get a nice close-up of Drift's face there. On this side, you get kind of a full shot of Drift. And then on the back, it just shows Drift with the little Dinobots cruising around. Really like the car mode. I think that looks really sharp. Shows off the last wave of deluxes, which was World War II Bumblebee, Barricade, and Sideswipe. He's got kind of a cool holofoil sticker there. Licensed by, what does that say? Daimler? Daimler. Must be some car company. Anyway, yeah. So here is Autobot Drift. Autobot Drift loses his inner calm and his balance when the mischievous baby Dinobots break his concentration. Those crazy, mischievous baby Dinobots. You know how it is. Anyway, let's go ahead. Let's get this guy out of the box and we'll take a closer look. So here's the little backdrop that they include. It is, of course, the junkyard from The Last Night that they all hide out in. And he can just go ahead and stand on there. Now you can see it is wider because the box is wider, so there's also room. You can put a couple little dino buddies. They can hang out. If you want to put the pterodactyl like on the shoulder or something, it just kind of sits there. They don't peg in. It would have been nice if they kind of just put maybe just like a tiny little peg hole in one of the bottoms of his feet. And then he could peg in, like, because there's kind of little peg spots here for where it pegs in vehicle mode. And it could have attached there. Would have been nice, but it's not a big deal. So you can go ahead, you can create a little scene here. It's kind of cool. I like the little backdrops they include. So here is Drift out of the packaging. We're going to start off with all of the tiny little dinos because they're quite awesome. Here is Pterry the pterodactyl. Pretty nicely detailed, I have to say. He has leg movement down here with his tiny little legs. They move individually. And also the wings can move also individually, and then you can kind of open and close the mouth. It's not perfect. You can't get it all the way closed, but you can open it a little bit more. So I think that's kind of cool. The blue eyes are nicely painted, and he's a fun little dino dude. So that's pretty neat. Next up we have Sharp T, who is a little T-Rex. Now as you can see, he has trouble... Let me show this off. Balancing, because his tail is so long and it makes him very back heavy. So like you can balance him like if he's really pitched forward, but it's kind of tough to make him balance. But I will say his legs do move independently. You can open and close the mouth. He's got kind of purple eyes. It's definitely a darker blue than the eyes for Pterry, which is kind of neat. I think it's neat that all three of the dinos have different color eyes. But as you can see, he's molded pretty cool. Very well detailed, and the paint applications look nice. And I appreciate the little points of articulation. So another cool little dino dude. And then my personal favorite is Tops. He is just the most adorable little Triceratops. His legs can move all four individually. It looks like his mouth can open, but I can't actually make it happen. But I love the metallic green eyes. Just really well detailed, well sculpted. I'm really a big fan of these little dino guys. They're very cool. They don't do a whole lot, but they're just awesome. So those are the three dinos. I like them quite a bit. I'm going to go ahead and move them off to the side, and then we will focus up on the Drift figure itself. So here is Drift. I think he looks pretty good. Definitely love the color scheme. I'm trying to remember the Last Night figure because I know the Last Night figure had a very similar color scheme. And at first I thought the figure from the Last Night and Age of Extinction were the same, but then I realized they're very different. And I wish I had them handy to compare, but unfortunately I don't. But I think this is a different figure. I might be wrong and it might be exactly the same as the Last Night figure. And if it is, I apologize, but I think it looks good. He's definitely got some nice articulation. First, we'll take a look at the head sculpt, though, because I think it's pretty impressive. It even looks like he's got kind of like a little mustache. I don't think he's meant to, but it kind of looks like it. But I like the head sculpt. I love the samurai helmet. You have a ball joint, so you can move up and down, side to side. Paint application's very nice. I think the chest area looks good. He's got the side door panels that kind of look like the shoulder armor for a samurai. I've always thought that that works out well. Simple for the transformation, but it also looks good in robot mode. You have a out to the side hinge as well as a swivel in the shoulder. You also have a little bit of like a pop in, pop out, but that's really for the transformation. You have 90 degrees in the elbow. You also have a spin at the elbow, like a bicep swivel. The hands move a little bit, but I don't feel like, I don't know, they're not really like a full swivel or anything. They kind of just like tilt in and out. I think it's more for the transformation. Nothing in the waist, but in the hip you have out to the front, out to the side. Can't really go back because of the backpack kibble. Then you have a knee, as well as I believe, yeah, there's the thigh swivel. It's actually kind of behind the shin pad. Well, that's not the shin, that's a calf, thigh. I know anatomy. Yeah, it's great. Anyway, so here's an ankle movement. Again, it's mostly for the transformation. But he's got a bit of a backpack. It's not terrible, but he's very much a shell former. We'll get into that in a minute. This whole thing basically becomes like the entire car that just folds on top. But we'll get there. But overall, I do think the robot mode looks good. You can see the hips on mine are a little loose. It's not terrible, and it's not like he can't stand or anything. It's really, like, this one's not that bad, but this one's kind of loose. So, I'm not sure. But anyway, he looks good. He does come with a host of accessories. He's got 2 little short swords. He's got 2 longer swords. And then he's got 1 really long sword. I really like the look of this sword. I think this looks great. It's got a little tab, like it can peg into the back. But I wish there was just like a little tab and you could put this on his back. I think that would look really cool. But unfortunately, there is not. Now, there are 2 peg holes, if you can see this because of the black, right here and here. So you can peg these on like this. Like that. And then he's got those behind his back, which I think looks kind of cool. And then you can give him either of the longer swords. I'm going to give him the big sword. I think this looks the coolest. So if you want to give him the 2 shorter swords, you can. You can also put them on the back. You can see that there are, let me zoom in again, whoop, little spots right there. If you can see right there. So you can go ahead and plug these larger swords in. And I will admit that this looks a little goofier, but it kind of works. So let me plug these back in like this. There we go. Zoom out. So you can have those swords kind of pegged in there like that. Fan them out as much as you want. And then you can have them hold the big sword. So it kind of looks neat from the back. So he can technically store all and hold the biggest one, and then he's ready to go. I really like the bigger sword, though. I think that's kind of cool. And again, the hips are being a little loose on me, but he definitely can stand. You just have to find a position. But yeah, pretty cool. Like I said, love the color scheme. I think the articulation's good. And I love the inclusion of the giant sword, so I definitely think he looks good. So the transformation is actually shockingly simple. He's very much a shell former, as I mentioned just a moment ago. You're going to come around to the back. You're going to kind of lift this whole thing up a little bit, just kind of, it hangs down. This will flip around and kind of drop down just slightly so that this will all sit flush. Then you're going to, let me zoom out a smidge, fold this part down. There's the back of the car. Then you're going to fold this part down, And this almost seems like it shouldn't fold down because it's very tight, but you have to just keep going and it will eventually drop down. There we go. So then there's pretty much the whole top of the car just hanging out. So what you do, you take the 2 feet, you flip them up, then you peg this together. There we go. There's pretty much the whole front of the car. You just push. Remember before when I was showing the ability to push these up a little bit? That's what you do. And you can see that the fists just kind of sit in this little recess here on the side of the thigh. So you just push that up. They just kind of sit in like that. And then you just kind of drop everything down. This will all kind of click into place and you just have to line up the panels. It's a little bit of a pain, but everything just kind of lines up, drops in. Make sure this is good. And then you just kind of bring these panels down. They peg into the side here. That's pretty much the whole transformation. It's just making sure all the panels fit together now, which is a little bit easier said than done, but it's not too bad, honestly. So yeah, that's pretty much a car mode. This is what I have trouble with the most, getting the roof to stay together. And then that just pegs in there. And there you go. There is your car mode. Alright, so I got the panels all a little bit more pegged in and secure. And I think it actually looks pretty good. I like the car mode very much. It rolls well. Again, I think the color scheme looks fantastic. Again, there's just the complete robot just hanging out underneath. Not really much going on there. Head, chest, arms, legs, all just hanging out. You can take the 2 longer swords and peg them in here underneath on the bottom of the feet. And that's a little bit of sword storage there. It can't store all of them, which is a bummer, but it can store those 2. They're a little, they don't really stay against the body perfectly, but it's not bad. It still rolls pretty well. So yeah, it's a very simple transformation, but I think it works. I think the car mode looks pretty good, with the exception of the roof doesn't quite fit flush. And that might just be me doing something wrong, but for the most part, I think it looks good. And then if you want to bring the dinos back in, have them crawling all over. I don't know. I don't really remember Drift interacting that much with the dinos. I just kind of remember them both being there, but I don't know. Maybe they didn't think if they sold this guy without the dinos, he would be much of a draw. I don't know. I don't know the logic behind it. In any case, this is the vehicle mode. And I think it looks pretty good. So, I can't decide how I feel about Drift. I do think it's kind of a nice set, because I will say that I do really like all 3 of the little dinos. And I think the color scheme for Drift looks good, and I love the accessories, all the different swords that he comes with. I just really wish I remembered if this is the same mold as the Last Night line or not. I kind of feel like it's very possible it could be, and that this was just a way to do an exclusive as like a new repaint of an old figure with a couple extra figure of the the Dino tchotchkes to throw in to entice people, and it would make sense for that to be an exclusive. But it could be a new mold. I'm really not sure. But like I said, it kind of would make sense if it's not. So I don't know. In any case, I think it's a decent set. I mean, the nice thing about it was, even though it's an exclusive to Entertainment Earth, I think it was like $25, $26. So even if this guy did come out normal retail, he would be around $20 himself. And so you're paying about $5 extra for the 3 little dinos, and I think that's kind of worth it. I think $5 for these 3 little guys is definitely a deal, especially with, what cost of plastic and things are these days. I don't really think you're not getting ripped off. So I recommend it. If you're a fan of Drift at all, or if you just want the little dinos and you haven't bought a Drift figure in a little bit, I think it's worth it. I really do. I think the Drift figure is good. The hips on mine are a little loose, which is kind of a bummer. But he can still stand. He can still hold a pose. He looks good. So, like I said, between the paint scheme, the transformation is simple, but I think it works. I think the car mode looks good when you're done. I love all the accessories, both swords and dinos. So, I think there's definitely fun to be had here. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and as always, thanks so much for watching.